Welcome, all you podcasters out there. This is Timothy Case, and you have stumbled upon Pet Parlor. Today's episode is about cats. Now, if this is the first time you're listening to this podcast, this is a podcast about pet care and pets in general. The taking care of pets and the ability to make sure that you can keep a wonderful companion for yourself. So today's episode is on cats and the necessity for cats. Cats are a very social animal, and they tend to draw to one individual rather than a whole family. Nevertheless, they do have cats that are more of a family style of cats. But the thing I want to touch up on are specific necessities that you need to take care of a cat. And what I'm going to start with is cat foods. Now, with cat foods, you have to keep in consideration the age of the cat. Obviously, a kitten will need more protein in their diet as opposed to, say, a full-grown cat or a mature cat. And the reason why is because a cat is in development, and that's why it needs all that protein for kittens. If the cat is in the normal adult age, which is within 1 year to 7 years, then you usually tend to go with a regular adult cat food. If it's 7 years or older, it's considered a mature cat or an old cat, and therefore they don't tend to be as active as younger cats are, and so therefore it has a less protein content in them. That being said, with cats, unlike dogs, they do have specific formulas for indoor or outdoor cats. An indoor cat tends to have more of a lounging and less active lifestyle, and so therefore indoor cat food will have a lower protein content. On top of that, cat foods do have specific food qualities for hairball control and urinary problems, because cats do have a tendency to get urinary infections and urinary problems. And so depending on what your vet tells you, you will probably want to find a urinary food for your cat. Hill Science Diet is one of the best ones out there that makes a urinary specific diet so that you can help them with their urinary infection and get them over that hump. On top of that, with the hairball control, cats are self-cleaning animals. That's why you don't tend to bathe them as often, is because they bathe themselves. They lick themselves to keep themselves clean. That being said, animals that shed a lot or have a lot of fluffier fur will wind up having hairballs. So they actually have a formula to help break down hairballs. So passing of the hairball would be a lot easier, and there has more of a chance of them not having as many hairballs. And it also helps with their coat. And like dogs, they also make stuff that is stomach and skin sensitive. Animals that kind of have a stomach sensitive issue will need to have specific foods for them, such as chicken and eggs. Cats would most likely have a skin issue rather than a stomach issue, because if they have a stomach issue, you usually go to a vet and they will prescribe you something to fix the stomach issue. But theirs is more of a skin issue that needs to be taken care of. The coat doesn't have its fluffiness or its shine and sheen, and therefore you might need to get a cat food that helps their coat become more shiny, more fluffy, and more sheen. Again, Hill Science Diet winds up making another wonderful thing for that helps both the skin sensitivity and the stomach sensitivity. On top of those things, there's also joint issues. Cats tend to not have as much joint issues as dogs, and therefore it's kind of rare to find like a bag of dog food, or not dog food, but cat food, that goes directly into that or joint issue. There's also things, because a lot of people are onto that grain-free diet craze, not only for themselves, but for their animals as well. That being said, putting cats on a grain-free diet, and this is mostly my opinion on the issue, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with that idea, because corn, yes, is not good for dogs, cats. They're not bad for them, but they do tend to get a weight gain from it, and therefore I would avoid some like basic cat foods, and that's the same with dog foods. And this is mostly like generic brands. You can find most of your generic brands in, say, grocery stores and that. If you go to like an actual pet store, they'll usually help you go to other styles of cat foods, other different types of cat foods that eliminate corn altogether. If the cat food has grains such as wheats and oats, that is not bad. It doesn't have as high of a fattening problem as corn does. And that's the same with dogs. If you find one that has oats and wheat, it's not bad. If you're thinking of changing to a grain-free diet without a vet telling you that the animal needs to be put to a grain-free diet, I would actually suggest going with anything that has rice. Now, rice is a grain, but it's a very light grain, and it's a very healthy grain for all animals. So most of your cat foods actually will have a chicken and rice formula rather than, say, wheat or barley or oats. And that's the same with like the sensitive skins will probably have egg rather than chicken, and rice as that filler for you. That being said, if you are going full bore grain-free diet, you'll see that on the ingredients of those grain-free diets that it will be either sweet potato or peas. And that's because sweet potatoes is actually a really good high in antioxidants for both cats and dogs. And that's the same with peas. Peas are a good antioxidant. And the reason with dry dog food that you put that sweet potato or peas in there is that you cannot just put a dried or freeze-dried meat as part of the meal. That part will wind up crumbling fast, and it's not as appealing. And that's why they put, say, sweet potato in there, so that they can actually get a form of a dry dog food or a dry cat food. Another thing to look into is also called a limited ingredient diet. And if you look on the back of a cat food bag, you'll see that there's stuff like preservatives or other things to help with the filler so that it has a longer shelf life. If you look at bags that have what's called limited ingredient diet or an LID, they won't have all those preservatives, and it's pretty much just chicken, sweet potato, and that's it. Or chicken and rice, and that's it. The issue that I only have with that is that it doesn't really have a long shelf life. So if you are going to a limited ingredient diet, you probably should go with a smaller bag as kind of a tester for the cat. Now, it is heard, and it is a big issue, that cats tend to be a very picky and finicky eating animal. And with that, these picky eatings and picky behaviors are very common. Cats don't like certain flavors. That being said, cats can't taste sweet flavors. So if something in cat food portrays it as sweet, I probably wouldn't go with it because that's not an accurate selling point for that cat food. As of actual cat foods that will work in that situation, fish tends to be a big thing that cats would love, and they don't tend to shy away. Chicken tends to be another one that's that way, that most cat food companies have a very generic formula when it comes to cat food. They will put some like cat flavor or chicken flavoring in there for the cat to be enticed, but besides that chicken flavoring tends to be the same formula regardless of which brand that you're going with. That being said, lamb and venison, cats tend to not like as much. It's lamb, venison, and beef tends to be one of those flavors that is oddly iffy for them because they're not used to that style of a flavor, or those types of savory flavors as with chicken and fish and turkey. Turkey's a big thing for for cats. Cats really love the flavor of turkey. And so if you see like cat food that has turkey flavoring in it, that's definitely one that helps transition them to a food. Another popular thing is people like to buy wet canned food for cats. And it's all good for the cat. There's nothing really bad for it. The only issue that I personally have with that, and it's only my opinion, is that wet cat food doesn't strengthen the teeth of the cat. And that's why you usually go with a dry cat food. There's also a type of diet called a barf diet. And what this is it's using actual meats and produce and stuff that you usually get, say, at a grocery store. This tends to be a very expensive adventure to do. But the issue with that is, besides the price of it, is that a lot of people going to that barf diet or a pure meat diet don't realize that there are some antioxidants and some minerals that the cats and dogs don't get from just a straight meat diet. And therefore, you need to add things like white rice or peas, sweet potatoes, things like that to help gain that extra antioxidant for that issue. And as far as that, some of the questions that I've heard throughout my life when it comes to taking care of cats is that they'd say, oh, the cat's eating the dog's food. I usually discourage people from doing that because cat foods, and it's another reason why I don't like the barf diet as well for cats, is because of a specific amino acid that's in cat food. Cats need this amino acid called taurine. I think it's called taurine. Let me look this up here real quick, just to make sure I'm getting correct here. I was correct. Taurine. And what taurine is, it's an amino acid that cats use in their digestive system, and it helps them from developing severe heart diseases and stuff like that. They don't get that taurine intake with dog food or the barf diet. And so therefore, they'll have what's called a taurine deficiency or taurine deficiency disorder, where it's pretty much having the